to try to make it as painless as possible, get us in and out as quickly as possible. So this is the State Board of Landscape Architects meeting for May 20th, 2025. Board members in attendance. Maureen's here, Janice is here, I'm here, and we did get, for the record, Mark had a sudden meeting that came up. He may try to join late, and I don't see, and I did text Phil Barlow. Doesn't seem he's here at this point. So I'll call the first item of order is review of the minutes from February 18th, 2025. I don't know if everyone had a chance to review the minutes. If not, I entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay.
I don't believe I was at that meeting.
Okay.
You were not.
Yeah.
Can we approve them with just two of us in a quorum? Rachel? Actually, we have
Yes,
a
you
motion.
can still vote even if you weren't in attendance.
so I
it's
made
up to you. If you feel comfortable doing so, then you can do it. If you want to hold off for the next meeting, we can do it that way too.
Okay,
I'm
well, I
fine
made
with
the motion. Janice seconded it. All those in
Yes.
favor? 2 ayes and an abstention?
Aye.
Okay, perfect. Comment concerns of any persons present today. We have 2 guests, it looks like. I believe both of them are on because of licensing later on. Do either one of them, and you're both on mute, do either one of them have any comments to make during public comment? Nothing?
No.
Oh, okay, perfect. DCP Investigation Division Complaint Status Report. We have
Is there a
anybody?
complaint?
No, we usually just ask if they have anything to report.
There were no new complaints, so there's no report to review for today. So you're all set there.
Okay. We'll move to old business. We had old business, and I'll pronounce it as most again. Matilda Otto needs approval to sit for examination, and this was a holdover from the previous meeting.
That is me. If you have any questions, that's why I joined today.
Okay. Janice, you were present at the last meeting, correct?
Yes.
I'm trying to remember because we went back through the minutes to see what our questions were.
Right.
I know Mark's not present. Remember what the questions were?
I think it was to explain the either lack of or the actual experience with your employment is what I have noted.
That's what I was thinking
Yes.
too.
Do you have a copy of the transcript?
Correct. Yes, we do. We have the Clark copy, and what it cites in terms of experience, it comes back, and I'll read this very quickly. Under Unverifiable Landscape Town and Country Ltd. was 1 year, 8 months, and then you had Newtown Landscape Architects, 8 years. And those, they run consecutive 2004, 2005, 2005 to 2013. And then you have Cotton Tree Design Limited from 2013 to 2022, 8 years. And then there's a gap between 2022 and 2025.
Yes, and then there should be Glengate. I started in September, so 5 months. No more, 8 months.
Glengate does not appear on our document.
No, I don't have that either.
That's probably the hiccup. So Clark doesn't document it on theirs.
I think, I don't know if that's the latest transcript. I can follow up with Clark, but anyway, I started here in September, so almost September this year. September it will be a year from.
Okay.
So if I can run through the other, yeah.
Yes.
So hold on.
No,
so that's September of 2025 to present, or 2024.
24. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And then if I can backtrack from the first one, so that was 18 months. That's in the UK. That was under a UK landscape licensed landscape architect, Steve Towers. I think you have his. Okay. He retired
and
now.
just so you have, it's unverified by Clarb. They don't have verification, so it's in there, but it's unverifiable in terms of their verification through Clarb.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. To my understanding, it was all verified. I'll follow up with Clarb to send you the new one. That I'm sorry about that. That was all verified from what I know, because I've tracked them all back, all my old bosses back. Okay.
And it's difficult
Rita,
sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes older bosses aren't even around anymore, so it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I think you have, like, in terms of the amount of years under to sit, I think there is there. I think our bigger question was just the gaps. Janice, you can correct me if I
That's right. That's
misspeak.
right.
So what we can do, and Rachel will correct me if I'm wrong, if you can get that updated, Rachel, we can entertain a motion. This is just to sit for the exam, correct? So
Mm-hmm.
we can approve it with her kind of working through and making sure my biggest one is I'm not so concerned with the unverifiable on the tail end back at the beginning of your career. I'm more concerned about getting Glenn Gate on there, and then we can approve it with the condition that the updated Clarb record is submitted. Is that okay, Rachel?
I'll make a motion to approve Krista Otto sitting for the exam based on updating her record with Clarb.
I have a motion. Do I have an second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Thank
Okay,
you.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions, so the ayes have it on this. So, okay, see? Make it as easy as possible. We just want to make sure sometimes, and just as an aside, there is sometimes Clarb gets it wrong. So we have to make sure that we have the most up-to-date information on that one. So that one was an easy
No.
one.
Okay.
Thank you very
appreciate
much
it.
for
All right.
attending,
Good luck
and
with
good
the
luck.
exams.
Good luck.
Thank
Thank you. Good luck.
We look forward to
Okay.
welcoming you as a
Thank you.
licensed member.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank
Moving
you.
on, that was the only item I have in old business. I didn't have any other old business, so we'll move on to new business. We have two under the let me make sure I do this correctly. We had two underneath that were assigned per the actual meeting agenda that went out. They were for, and I'm gonna butcher these names, but Williams and Zoe. I want to make a motion to amend that and to add in, and I'll try to get these names correct. I apologize if anyone's online. Rashim Baraga and Michael
Yes.
Rataco. So I'd like to
Right.
make a motion to add them to the agenda.
I'll
Second.
second that motion.
I have a motion, a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, perfect. So then we can address them. So I'm going to go in order, and the order I'm going to go in, we can talk about them, and then I'll do Williams first. I don't know if you had time to review it.
Williams. Okay.
I think it's Lauralee Williams. I reviewed it, and then I'll start. If you haven't had time, you guys can review. If you haven't had time to review, or did everyone look at this one?
I looked.
Okay. I think we're going to have these for a few times moving through. I'm a stickler, and Mark would get all over me for it. I think the education is fine. I think the experience looks okay. Two of the exam sections under the old sections were taken prior to the 2 years. However, I don't know what we did for the last one that came through. We're going to have these come through probably for another year or so, as people are educated to the fact that they have to wait the 2 years before sitting for the exam. But I'm apt to approve it. I guess we have to make a motion second, and then we can discuss it. Is that how that works, Rachel? Or can we just talk about it first?
Do we have a motion for all four of them to be approved at the same time?
Let me see. We have two that are okay to license. One is for sitting for the exam, and this is the only one I wanted to talk about, and then we can talk about the other
Okay.
three as a group.
Okay.
Just because I wanted on record that the process wasn't followed. However, maybe we have a stipulation in there. I don't know, but this is the one where they graduated in 2021, took the
Right.
exam in 2022 and 2023. However, they were probably informed by CLARB that they could. So I just want it on record that if we're going to approve it and they've got the pedigree. And Rachel, I'm not sure what we did with the last one, if we had them, drag it out to the 2 years, or should we go ahead and implement it? Because they have the 2 years experience now. So I would just make a motion that we approve this and just have it in the document that the 2 years experience has been attained, but they didn't wait the 2 years prior to taking the exam.
Correct.
Okay,
I'll second that motion.
perfect. All those in favor of approval of Laura Lee Williams?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, that one passes. All right, the other three I will group together. I just want to talk about them for a second, each one individual, and then we'll approve them all as once. We have, I don't even know how to pronounce this, Ixenai Zhao. Everything I thought looked okay, so I'm gonna put that indentation, and that one is for licensure. We have Michael Ritako. Everything worked out on that one, I believe, as well. And that one is for licensure. And then we have one for Rashim Bayerga to sit for the exam. Read through it. I don't have many issues on this one either. All the homework was done. We've got the U.S. equivalency in there underneath. It's a Bachelor of Architecture, so it's 4. So they're just over that in terms of graduation dates 2020. Let me just verify. We've got direct supervision, direct supervision, indirect supervision. Do the years add up to 4? 1, 2.
Do they?
That's what I'm looking at right now. Because we have an unverifiable, and that was prior to graduation.
Mhm.
So I got 1 and 1 is 2, 11, and 1 is, I got 3 years, 6 months, but I think the exam is not offered until, I don't know when the next time the exam's offered, so he might have the time by the time the exam is offered.
Hmm.
I think Rashim, you are here, correct? Can unmute?
Yes.
Perfect. When do you plan on sitting for the exam?
I don't plan to take the summer, but the next ones.
Okay, so you're going to anticipate fall.
Yeah.
So I got to do some math. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Because under the licensure, we have a degree. Do you have a master's as well as the bachelor's, or just the master's or
I have
bachelor's?
bachelor's in architecture, but master's in landscape architecture.
Oh, fine. Then it's not an issue.
No.
Okay, I'm going to compartmentalize all three. A motion, I'll make the motion, and the motion will be to approve, and I'm going to get the names wrong, and I apologize. Zinni Zhao and Michael Ritako for licensure, and Rashim Bayerga to sit for the exam.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Perfect. Opposed? None? It's 3-1, 3-0. That's all taken care of. All right. And good luck.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good
Thank you so
luck and
much.
welcome.
Yep, good
Good
luck.
luck and welcome, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Ladies.
Perfect. Yes. Good stuff. All right. So under applications for licensing by waiver examination, I think Janice, you had some questions on that. So Rachel or anyone else on the phone, can you just explain to the board? My understanding is the waiver of examination was done so for reciprocal licensure. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'll dive in on that one record that shows Connecticut. So we
Mhm.
had a law change where now reinstatements can only be done for up to 3 years across the board between different license types.
Yep.
So this is kind of new. It was my first time anyways encountering this. So what happened is this person was previously licensed in Connecticut. That's where they originally obtained it by exam.
Mhm.
Has since gotten it in all kinds of other states. And now because they need to reinstate, I get their record, but their initial, I always use the first state that they got licensed in.
Oh, you cut
Okay.
out. You still there?
Like a reciprocal application, but
Yep.
so I wasn't sure how to list it. I didn't want to make it sound like they were a new exam person. So welcome to feedback. That was the first time I encountered it so far.
All right, so they were
Okay.
previously licensed as a landscape architect in the state of Connecticut.
Yes,
Yeah, but
But
they let
I'm
their they
approving
let
it
their
now.
license lapse.
they did.
Okay, now I have a couple of questions on this.
Sure.
Have they stayed up to date on their continuing education?
In Connecticut, it's
If they've let their license lapse in the state of Connecticut, we
So
need
it's-
proof
it's-
that they've gotten continuing education.
but this
At
wasn't a
least license.
reinstatement. They were outside of the reinstatement window, so they applied as essentially a reciprocal application at that point
Oh,
because
okay,
they
so
have
they're
active
applying.
licenses in other states.
Okay,
You
let
see, I
me
was
ask
kind of
you-
like,
And they're based
Quirky.
in Massachusetts, from what I can tell.
yeah, let me see.
They're
Yeah,
at AECOM in Massachusetts.
yeah,
Okay.
have her in Arlington.
Yes.
Yeah. So
But were they originally licensed in the state of Connecticut? Was that their
They-
base license?
it was.
Okay.
So I guess
Yeah,
it's one of those, do I put them as written exam, but that makes it sound like they're just now getting it by exam. So it was just, I wasn't sure how to do that.
Understood.
No, I understand that. I mean,
Yeah.
my only concern there is I'd like to make sure, like, it's an in-between.
Yes.
However, it does bring up something, and I'm just talking here since
Yeah.
we're in new business. It does bring up a concern of mine. I am licensed in multiple states as well, and my
Yes.
concern is we do we do have somebody who was, and this is a perfect example, was originally licensed in the state of Connecticut, and they moved obviously or did something where they're in Massachusetts now, but now they've let it lapse and they're coming back. Where when you check, do you check to make sure their license is in good standing in all the other states that they're licensed in?
So I have their CLARB record. So it's
Okay,
It's
the
based-
CLARB
so I
record
get the
doesn't
same-
state, yeah, the CLARB record does not state whether or not their licensure is in good standing or if they've had any sort of complaints brought against them by any other state.
so I guess I'm not sure on how CLARB does that prior to sending a record. As of 2025, all of them were verified in the other state. And I know for myself, when I have to do verification for
Mhm.
CLARB or other organizations, part of
Mhm.
that is responding to the question, have they had any disciplinary action? Or are they in
Okay,
compliance?
perfect.
So based on that, like right now, they used to have it in California. So that was only for 2 years back in the 90s. And this year, California verified that information is all accurate. They didn't have any issues.
Are they
And
currently
then for
licensed?
Massachusetts,
Yeah.
so it's
listen,
only
Matt,
the 3 states for history. So they were licensed in Connecticut from 88 to 2002. They were licensed in California from 94 to 96. And in Massachusetts, they've been there from 2000. And their license expires next year in Massachusetts. So I would be the 3rd state, and I actually did verify that for any history that I have on that
Yep.
person. They didn't have anything against them, and California and Massachusetts have done the same just this spring.
my
all
concern
the
here
states
is
verified it.
if someone is my concern on this one
Yeah.
is, and I am multiple states as well, but if they were a new licensure, they're going to be waived on the continuing education. I don't think they should be waived on continuing education. I think they should be able to show continuing education. Now, Massachusetts, I don't know about California. Massachusetts doesn't require, I don't believe. And they said the California lapse as well. So, this is a way someone can circumvent continuing education, which is part of licensure in the state of Connecticut. So that's
So-
my only concern.
And rightfully so. This is something that came up with this law change that was put through by our legal division. And unfortunately, since this is not a reinstatement, because they would be reinstating from 23 years ago, right now they can only reinstate for 3 years. So CEs are a requirement for reinstatement, they fall outside of that. There's no reapplication process or requirements or anything like that. So either they're considered a new application, reinstatement, or regular renewal. So it does kind of skirt the CE issue. And this is how it is across the board
So
now
now
for
if
real
we,
estate
if
for everybody.
so, and I know these are usually hand waves. So now if we, if it is approved, they get the first year basically for free, and then they have to start acquiring CEUs, correct?
Mhm.
They would be held to the same standard as everyone else with a reciprocal application, yeah.
Mhm.
I'll go on the record that I don't like it, but I understand we have to
Yeah.
go by the rules that legal has put in
Mhm.
place at this point, which
Yep.
is wrong, but that's okay. All right, we don't really have any action on this, I don't believe. We don't even approve these. So that was my only concern on that one. So we got one New York, a Texas, a Rhode Island, New York, New Mexico, New York, Rhode Island. Just so you guys know, just to educate the rest of the board. So the ones except for Connecticut, which is a mass, technically.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that. Yep. Good.
Yeah, Texas has continuing education, so I'm not so concerned. New York does, New Mexico does, Rhode Island does not. So there'll be the two Rhode Islands and the Mass essentially will end up tying into like a new licensure. So they've got a waiver for the first year or whatever, and then after that they'll start accruing continuing education.
Got it.
Dom,
right.
in the future, do you think it would, because again, I kind of on that, since this was a new law change, I think just last year, about
Yep.
3 years to reinstate. Would that be how I should put it, do you think? Put it as Massachusetts in this case, since that's where they're actively licensed?
Yeah, they're no longer licensed in the state of Connecticut, I believe,
Yeah.
at that point. So, and if we're saying 3 years after that, it's
Yeah.
like if if they come back and they're in Connecticut 3 years, they have to reapply. So,
Yeah.
it's unfortunate, and we've got issues. I know there's some more ones coming down the line because there's some people that think they serve for a municipality, and all of a sudden, oh, you don't need we're not going to pay for your license, you don't need it.
Yes.
And we can work with, obviously, if they're in Connecticut or Mass, our neighbors and things, we can work on a case by case basis on how we can reinstate them, I believe. So
It
Yeah,
has
I mean-
become tricky, and even in the sense of records retention, like being able to find information. I mean, again, this person was originally licensed in 88. Sometimes it's difficult, I'm sure, not only for us, but other states to maybe be able to retrieve information from a long time ago when these people do have to start from scratch.
yeah, I mean, we can't obviously our hands are tied, unfortunately. So something to think about in the future, but it's, we want to make sure that they're continuing their education. And then, like I said, I've been looking at other states too, because I'm glad you told me. I have to get back with Clark and Mark in terms of making sure doesn't have a claim against them in another state. That's my concern, because when Clark verifies, they verify that they're licensed, but sometimes they have to make sure, maybe we have to have the people attest that they're not, oh, I worked in Nevada for 3 years, but I have a thing against my license. I let it lapse, and now I'm going to reapply here. So I just worry about the health, safety, and welfare of the state of Connecticut citizenry at that point. So we don't have
So
any.
again-
Go ahead.
Sorry, Dom. Again, that's kind of twofold. So one, on regular renewals, again, unless something is brought to our attention by one of the national organization or by another state, we wouldn't necessarily know about it. It's up to people to self-report if they have had something happen in another state. But again, in this case, when it's a new record being transmitted, the states all are asked to verify. I frequently get people who have been licensed here for years who are still obtaining them in other states, and I'll get requests to verify their licensure at that point prior to their
You'll be getting one.
their
You'll be
record being
getting- yeah.
transmitted.
You're going to
Yeah.
be getting one from me in about a month for Vermont. So
See, okay.
understood.
And I will tell them that you're doing okay.
Vermont's my last one. I don't have every other New England state except for Vermont. So, but they sunsetted, which messed everything up for a little while. So that's a whole different story. Okay, perfect. I think we can move on past that, because that's basically. Do we have to approve those, or do we know? Do we have to make a motion to approve by waiver of examination, or is that just administrative?
Administrative, they've already been approved.
Okay.
Okay.
5C, applications for license for corporate practice landscape architecture. And this looks like name changes, it looks like, for both of them. Do we need to approve those or are those hand waves? Administrative. Anyone?
Sorry, trying to get to unmute. They've already been approved as well.
Yep, and these are name changes. Stephanie was made the, plus I already had the corporate, but they brought in Stephanie and Greg. Okay, fine. Moving on. Correspondence. Are there any correspondence?
I have not received anything.
Okay, and then we have 7 comments and concerns of any parts again at the end for some reason. I don't know why, but any other comments?
Yeah, I have one. Is it, and I'm sorry if I missed this discussed, but the 2 years of employment and then the exam, that rule, is Clark going to make that clear to applicants? How are they going to
Yes.
know that? Okay.
I was under the
Right.
impression that, I know Mark has talked to them. I believe the state has also like looked at their, oh, she just unmuted. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi. So I could actually use some assistance with that between, I've sent, and Dom, I may be going to your spam folder, but I know I had previously sent kind of my proposed website changes to Mark, and I sent them to you just for
I
some
apologize. I did not
feedback.
see
It's
they made
okay.
it went to my spam.
Maybe if you want to send me an email, I can respond with it. It'd be really helpful. I just want to make sure that I get the language correct with the nuances there.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, Clara has a lot of information on there. So I've updated that part. And also I was just hoping maybe someone could be an extra set of eyes in case there's some pieces of our licensure or otherwise that I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, I'll get with Mark after this meeting, and then what we'll do is like you said, we'll review it. I'll go into my spam folder and see if I can find it. If not, I'll reach out to you.
Okay.
And then ours is easy to update. And then I even told Mark offline, I'm like, we should just take, when you click on the map and you see the pull down, mark
Mhm.
up the pull down, and they can put an asterisk in it. He's more concerned about we're going to go from green to yellow. I don't care if we go to green from yellow. There's other states on there that are a lot more stringent than us in terms of
Mhm.
the paperwork process. This is one element that really shouldn't get us to yellow. It should keep us at green. But, if you apply to if you're stamped like I am for the corporate stamps, there's a lot more, like you said, information out there. I mean, Texas, you have to be fingerprinted. You have to have a national federal background check from their specific agency. There's a lot of different things out there too that personally I think is a little more difficult to get licensed. So than what we're requesting. So I'll work with you on that one and we'll get that,
Thank you.
that worked out.
Yeah, as I remember, it used to be very clear. I don't know what changed, but it used to be very stringent and very clear.
The interpretation is where is unclear, is the
Okay.
interpretation of what the requirements are.
Okay.
And leaving it up to the interpretation is where we fell down a little bit. And it's nobody's fault. It's just,
Right.
you know,
Right.
leaving
it's
up
important.
to Clarb. So,
Yeah, you can't take the exam without 2 years minimum of
Yeah, and-
employment,
and
because,
we're just clearing it up because there's a lot more pathways to obtain the license. Since the law that changed a little bit, there's, you don't have to have the accredited degree, but we want to make sure those 2 years, like if you're going an alternate path, the 2 or the 4, depending on what you're doing, we want to make sure that you're clear on that. And if you go
when
and you
I
look at,
applied, it was 20. I did
Yeah.
20 years of work
Yep.
and presented to the board in person. So,
there's all different types of stuff. And then, like I said, if you look at other states, there's a lot more layers than we have. I think we've streamlined as best we can. And the biggest thing is just to make sure that we get people that are of the right in terms of their 3-legged stool. They've got the education, they've got the experience, and they've taken the exam.
mhm.
So, all right. I don't know where the rest of them are. Does anyone else have any other comments? If not, we can, I'll make a motion to adjourn. We got a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Perfect. Thank you
Aye.
very much for coming. I
Thank you
appreciate
for running it.
This is why we're trying to expand the board, is for this full reason. So when guys have or ladies have other items, we can make sure we can move these. This is great. We approved a bunch of people, so that's great. Thanks very much.
Okay.
And I will.